What's up, everyone? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today, I've got a very special guest, Miss Emily Ducote. She is a current strawweight UFC fighter, a great friend of mine, and a great person. It was awesome getting to talk to her about the sports life, but also pick her brain about, day-to-day life and staying in the moment, working on being present, among many, many other things. But I think you all will really appreciate this insight. And as always, keep going. But I appreciate you coming. Thank you. For those who don't know, it's Miss Emily. I've got a professional athlete in the house, UFC fighter, but also a great friend. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. A lot of people know kind of your current life, but I'm always more interested in the early days. So you're originally from California, or?
Born and raised in California. I moved to Oklahoma when I was 18, moved for school, for college.
Oh.
Not so much for school, but more for wrestling in school. So,
What college did you go to again?
OCU.
Oklahoma City?
Yeah. Briefly, they had a really good, they have still, but I moved out for their wrestling program.
Mm-hmm.
Can never really get into academics though, so it kind of got me a little bit.
They're a tougher school, aren't they? With the academic
it's a good
side?
school, but just I think any school I would have gone to, just couldn't really get into it. Wasn't motivated to do it.
You were more just on the sports?
I just wanted to train and compete. So I never really found my footing. So I'm not really. I don't love that. I never really got to finish like school or the wrestling there, but I'm glad I changed it up because then I was able to find the gym and kind of get onto that course. But the academics, I just can never, really anything in general, if I'm not motivated for it, I just really can never get it done. So it's always been training and sports and that lifestyle that really keeps me
And you were wrestling as a kid?
So I started wrestling in high school.
That's got to be hard as a female, right? Or is that normal where you're from? 'Cause I think we had one girl at our school.
Now it is very, very big. Now,
Okay.
When I was in high school, there was one girl, and that
At your school, or
yes,
okay,
and she was good, and so that kind of motivated me.
okay.
If she wasn't there, if I hadn't seen her, I don't know if I would have even known about it. Like, oh, that's possible or whatever. So she I saw her, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that. So I did 3 years in high school, and a year and a half college, and now. It is huge. I think I saw something the other day that it's like one of the fastest growing high school things right now.
Because I think I've seen younger girls at the gym anyway. So like in the last couple of years where they're getting into it.
It's getting big, which
With
is good.
High school, since there's not very many girls, do they go just with a few in the district? Or do you have to go outside? How does that even work? I don't feel like there's a lot.
So I'm not up to date. Like I haven't stayed track with that. But so when I was there, I remember... it'd be co-ed. So you would
You wrestle boys?
I had wrestled boys.
Damn.
And I don't know if there was a cutoff at some point, but then they had, women's only tournaments, like the higher level tournaments.
Okay.
But I think maybe sometime during the season you would do co-ed or something like that. Now I think there's enough women and schools that have women's wrestling or women's teams, especially colleges now. There's more college options. There's just a lot more options now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely wrestled boys. I remember that. But there were like the higher level tournaments. They were girls only tournament.
Okay. So a lot of like exhibition style would be with boys and girls. And then when it was like for medals and things like that, it would be girls.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly. I mean, I guess it's been quite some time now. But
what weight is that? Because if you fight now at 115, what were you wrestling in high school?
They have a lot of options. I want to say I was wrestling... I think it was 116. So it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty on par with what I am now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But as far as like cutting weight and whatever, I did not figure that out until much later.
Yeah. Because did you even have to in high school?
High school.
Or college?
High school, not so much. College, yes. College, again, I never really had it all click where I got the school and the wrestling down and the weight cutting. I just think there was a lot going on, and
it's hard as hell to do that stuff. You're doing it as a pro now, but and we commend you when we look at your your layout of your week and stuff, it blows my mind. It takes dedication
And
for that.
That's how I like it. So that's what I feel like there was too much chaos in college for me. I need to be very on track, and I just felt like I could never really get on track with like so much going on. So now, having only my fight career and in the gym life, I feel like a lot better being able to stay on track and make a routine. And of course, I'm some days tired, but overall, I'd much rather be on a routine than be off a routine. I just work better as a human and a fighter on some sort of structure. I feel like structure is really important, and a lot of people don't understand that. So when I look at sometimes people struggling in the gym or out of the gym or whatever, I see that structure and routine is kind of like missing. And so what's cool about the gym is a lot of people, you see a lot of like transformations.
Oh, yeah.
And throughout the gym.
I bet you've seen a ton because you've been there how many years? Like 8 years or something crazy?
No, 10 years at the gym. 8 years as a pro.
That's a long time.
So yes,
so
I've seen a lot of people come. I've seen people come and stay and people come and go. But the lifestyle, I think, especially jiu-jitsu, but the lifestyle overall really changes people. And I really think that it's like about structure and routine and discipline, like planning your week out and sticking to it and not just like, of course you need to go with the flow with some things, but I think you need some sort of structure in some aspect of your life to be kind of like...
Chief, get out of here, boy. Come here.
To be on track. So
Lay down. Good boy. No, I think the same thing because when we started coming to the gym, it made us have to make, even like, of course you change your life on like what you do on your day to day, but it'll make you think of, oh no, I've got this to do tomorrow. I can't do this, or got this to do tomorrow. So I bet you have dealt with a ton, but when you were wrestling in college, then you just stopped school and started fighting, or how do you start fighting?
So I did like a year and a half of college, the wrestling in the school, and I was not, on track or like happy with what I was doing. I just didn't feel like I was like kind of wasting time.
And college goes so fast too.
Yeah. So. And there's just so much going on that I feel like, if you don't know what you want to do with like the academic part, it's kind of just a weird time. And then
it's just keeping you busy.
Yeah. It's just a lot of running around. And, if you're not feeling like what you're doing is what you want to, if you know what you want to pursue and what, degree you want, I feel like, yes, that's great. Good. Do it. But if you don't know, I think everyone's always telling you just keep going and maybe you'll figure it out or whatever. I just feel like,
no, I know.
Maybe that's not necessary,
Yeah.
To just be doing like random stuff. And then, I don't know, I just feel like.
No, because when I look back, I probably wasted some time. I just went back just to play basketball. Like, I probably could have finished school earlier, but stayed longer to play.
Yeah.
And on the academic side, it helped. But I don't know if it was worth that much time when I look back. That's quite a few years. For you, it was quick. So then you get out of college and then just start training jiu-jitsu, or?
Well, I was actually going to move back home to California.
Where was it in California again?
San Jose, Los Angeles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was going to move back, and I had a friend who was training, and he was like, you got to meet G. He's so structured, so disciplined. You're going to love it. And I was like, okay. And so I just showed up at the gym and started doing 6 a.m.s, and G kind of...
You started with 6 a.m.?
Oh,
Yuck.
I did, yeah. Well, because I was I had some jobs, like at the time. I think I was working at Gold's Gym for like a little bit of time. And so I was training at 6 a.m. and I would come back, when I can, work in the middle of the day, kind of like a small shift middle of the day, and then go back at night. So G, I just kept showing up, and G was like, quiet. And as soon as you start being very consistent, G starts to see that, and then he'll open up, open up. So as soon as he sees like, are they going to show up and be consistent? Then he kind of like, blah, blah, blah.
You weren't, I gotta tell you because you'll laugh. My first time ever going, I don't think you were there. You may have been there, but I walked in and Tez had told me to go. And then I walk in and G whips his head around, and they were doing MMA or Nogi. And I was like, Wednesday, I thought I could come today. He's like, Wednesday, 5:30 is for fighters. And I was just like, all right. And I just left because I had never met him. So when he said it so for real, I was like, all right. And I just left. And then they called back. And then when I came back, because Tez and Shaq were like, no, come back. G said he didn't know. And I came back and you was like, why didn't you tell me you know him?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sorry. So when you say like it takes a while to warm up, it's funny because he's not even being rude. He's just like, you got to earn it a little bit.
He's very direct. Yeah. And I like that.
So what happened to you?
I'd rather be a non-sugar coated, like very direct. That's how because I don't want to be wondering like, what do they mean? Like he'll just say it. And if you don't have, if you don't want to hear the truth, don't be asking questions.
No, don't ask anything.
So then he, I started training and I wanted to fight. So
From the jump?
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. I had started really getting into it, like watching all the women's fights, got really into it. And had watched like all of the girls. And I had, like the 115 girls, like I was watching everybody and kind of like studying everybody, just to kind of like, oh, this is what I need to be working on and doing and whatever. And so in my first...
It's nonchalant to you, but like that foundation you're setting is crazy. Because I see you today and like, I've got to see some years, not all of it, but some years. And even just in the some years I've seen crazy growth. And then for you to say you had like pictures on your wall.
Oh, I had posters.
That's crazy.
Sure. Yeah. I would watch a ton of film. I had posters up, kind of just like of my, I don't like to say like favorite fighter because I don't have like a favorite fighter, but I had people that I liked to watch and study.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean.
And so I had those people and I would watch them and like all the live events I would watch. And I would like rewatch fights and like just try to learn from a lot of film or even just characteristics of
it's
people.
It's just crazy that you say like you had all this non-structure in college because there was too much going on.
Yeah, it was too much.
But you're so structured.
I guess like overstimulated in college is too much. And I wasn't able to stay on a routine or on a track because they would always be like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. Like, it was hard for me to plan anything, which, a lot of people like to just be told where to go or whatever. I like to be very involved with my, schedule or whatever.
That's cool.
Because if I don't feel that structure or discipline, or if I feel like, kind of like go with the flow too much, I just don't feel like I'm doing my best or like I'm like my best, or I guess then my brain is not in the best place. That's why I'm such a big believer on structure and routine. I just feel like mentally it's so easy to kind of like get off track and just, fall into like a harder time. But with structure and routine, it kind of keeps you on track and you give yourself a little bit of slack. Like every once in a while, I'm not always in like this like structured routine, great mental place, but you give yourself a little slack, but then you need to bring it back. So I try not to.
That's kind of empowering too, to be able to like have a little bit of leeway and then come back to it. Because it makes you feel like you like are dedicated to what you're talking about. Yeah,
there's seasons. You go through seasons. Like some seasons you're like very motivated. Sometimes maybe a win or a loss, and you just need to go back and kind of reassess and readdress and work through mental things. But I just think a lot of people have no structure or no responsibility, no discipline, and they just are confused why they're not, feeling like great, like mentally, you can't sit at home all day and then wonder why you're
not accomplishing your
goals or dark or not accomplishing things that you maybe want to, or honestly in the sport, MMA or any competitive thing, you've always got people watching and critiquing, and it's always interesting to me because those people are not people that mostly compete. Also, they're people that are just watching that are the most critical. So I am just, everyone needs to find their thing. It doesn't need to be competition or whatever, but everyone has a thing that I think you should find and be structured with. Yeah.
So when you found it with jiu-jitsu, you said you started going 6 a.m. and you got locked in and wanted to fight.
I like 6 a.m. 6 a.m. I feel like it's hard to get up and be there, and some mornings you don't quite wake up. But even then, on those mornings that you're there and you're not quite awake, your day, I feel like the day is more productive. Like I'm awake for the day.
What time do you usually go to bed? Like the same?
I try to lay down between 9 and 9:30 and like phone or TV off at 10. And I'm like going to bed at 10 because
That's
you got to wake up.
Though.
Yeah. So like 10, I hope to be asleep around 10 and then waking up at like 5:10.
So you're doing 6 a.m., but you're not 4 a.m. Like
Oh, no.
you're waking up pretty decent.
Yes.
Do you have to eat before or no?
I need to sleep. And then I'll just have a protein shake on the way. Can't eat like a meal. And I do nap. Like I'm a napper. Like I believe
Long ones or short?
I believe in a nap a day around.
A day?
Like, yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. If I don't nap, don't talk to me. A nap a day between 1 and 3 could be 30, 1 hour. Usually 1 hour and a half would be like a long if I'm like super dead from training. But yes, I'm a napper. I believe in naps. Otherwise, at night, don't talk to me.
And then you wake up for the second round and it feels good? You're
Yes.
not like groggy or nothing?
Oh, no.
That's
So I
good.
make sure to wake up so I don't wake up and like run out the door. I make sure that I'm awake an hour before I need to leave, not an hour before I start training, an hour before I leave the house. So
That's smart.
It's, again, it's structured. It's a structured nap. Like I have, I need to wake up, have my snack, be awake, and then go.
I understand the snacks. That's why I asked you about your breakfast in the morning, because I'll have to like do a protein shake, but also eat some blueberries all before 6 a.m. and then it seems rushed, but it does work out good like once you get that routine.
Yeah, I'll do a protein shake on the way. I can't eat too much before I train. I don't like to feel like weighed down, kind of like slower, sluggish.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are like that.
So I'll just have a shake on the way and then I'll eat after. But yeah, morning, 6 a.m. I think. And it's funny because jiu-jitsu, at the 6 a.m. class, there's a very distinguished group of repetitive 6 a.m.ers.
Oh, yes.
The night class is kind of like very scattered. Sometimes you'll have consistent people, but it'll be kind of random and
it's
different.
more scattered for sure.
The morning it's like 80% this consistent group. And then, a few trickle in that, may or may not regularly go. But
I was surprised by the intensity. Because the evening class for me, I've only been doing jiu-jitsu 3 years. So I know you've got like a way different pace, but in the afternoon time, sometimes it's pretty competitive.
Yeah.
But the morning they were going hard. And it cracked me up because I was like, oh shit, I guess I got to really wake up because I think it's going to be flowy. And it's like, no, this is their evening.
Yeah. Some days, like I said, if I'm not quite, like my body doesn't quite wake up, I do have to kind of flow. And if I run into someone who's awake, I'm like, that's not great. It's not great. But some mornings, then sometimes it forces you to wake up. And then you can match the pace. And then you're really awake for the day. So
I was surprised at how it could wake you up. The only thing I do say is I always complain about being tired during the day, but maybe I just need to force that nap on the 6 a.m. Because I'm like, grouchy.
Yeah.
At like 12. I'm like, I'm done with that.
That's why 1 to 3, sneak a nap in there. But,
so when you were wanting to fight, I know it's not hard to get like your first fight because you can talk to G, get it set up, but was it quick? Was it 30 days? Was it 3 months?
It was pretty quick. Yeah, it was pretty quick. I don't remember the exact amount of time, but I know like once I started showing up, he kind of got it booked. And
that's correct. At 115?
Yes.
And you were mainly a wrestler at this point?
Yes.
Even because you're huge on striking, like your shit is clean.
Well, yes, that's like a whole other conversation. Everyone always assumes grappling because of the wrestling. I truly love grappling just based off of jiu-jitsu also. Mm. But yes, the wrestling does tie into like the grappling. And I in the beginning was primarily wrestle grappler.
Did it come more natural, the jiu-jitsu, because you had been wrestling?
Yeah, and G also obviously is a big jiu-jitsu guy. So like him hearing that I was coming from wrestling, he was like wrestling jiu-jitsu, which I love. And I
like it because he can focus it. He's like, this is jiu-jitsu or this is MMA.
Yes, because wrestling, what's cool about it is that going into fighting and into MMA is the positional control you see wrestlers have. They decide if they want the fight down or not. And
that's
then
the most
on the
annoying shit
ground.
ever.
Yes, exactly. You get taken down by a wrestler and you're just like, okay, well, if I can't get myself up, then we're staying down.
But that was you flipped. You were taking them down.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So I wrestled a lot.
Was it like just more instinct so you would bang a little bit and then just go to the what works?
Yeah. I never really had issue like getting hit. Like I wasn't afraid to get hit. But it was more like me and G just had like our game plan was like heavy wrestling, heavy grappling, Well,
you get some good finishes that way for sure.
Yes.
It's so dominant.
I don't know what happened. I've had a lot go on in my career. I've had a lot of weird things to where it kind of forced me to swerve. And I somehow ended up into this like big striking I think it all just came from
when
me.
I came in, it was not all striking, because you're like obviously a grappler wrestler with striking, but on the striking side, it was always like you over there making it look tight.
I think that
which is really cool to see when you're like, for me, it reminds me of basketball. So like, I was a big dribbler, but then when you look at people that are like Kyrie Irving, like the highest level dribblers, and you see them working on their craft, it's kind of like that, where you'll be hitting pads, but it's just not less work, but super efficient work.
Yeah.
Like I would have to hit like me hitting the pads for an hour is not the same as you hitting it for 25 minutes.
Yes. Efficient is a good word, because I do like to be efficient. I don't like to waste time. I like to just get in there and knock it out. But I think something happened along the line where I was unhappy with the technique that I was showing in striking wise. So then I just like really maybe even over focused on it.
Okay.
So that's something that currently we're working on. And
so ground striking, mixing it.
Yes. Well, I even want to just kind of like really hit the wrestling grappling like really hard from now on. Like that's what we're refocusing on right now. Is I have all these cool grappling skills that I haven't got to show, so people think that I'm just a striker, and that's just not the case. So
I know, it's kind of crazy.
We're going to remind them that that's not the case. So I really am excited to kind of get back, refocus on my grappling stuff.
It reminds me of a lot of UFC fighters you see. They'll be people you love to watch strike, like you or Dustin Poirier or something like that. And you're like, oh, they're black belts though.
Yeah.
Like
right.
you don't realize it, because everyone wants to, like, once you're in the fire, I feel like, and you're so good at striking, you're going to do that, because the wrestling is like so much harder. Not harder to do, but it's like a lot of energy.
It's
so you're
a lot
being
of energy.
smart.
Yes, it is a lot of energy.
Do you think because I'm sorry to skip around, but I just remember when you did your first fight in the UFC, I was at Home Depot watching it because I was fixing something on a flip. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I saw you walk in, and I was like, how's she so normal? And then I remember asking you about it, and you're like, it's just like every stage that I've increased, it just, I'm just the new normal. But are you thinking of that in the fight where you're like, oh, I'm a little tired now, or I need to save this, or is it just fighting? Because at that level,
I've fought so many places. I feel like I have a lot of experience. Whereas some of these people now are just fighting like a few fights on one show and then making the switch. I fought in several shows, not even just several shows, but like several bigger shows, Bellator, Invicta, and then UFC. So like, I just feel like that variety of high level show and like the amount of fights that I had and the amount of like high level fights that I have gave me like a sense of like, I guess it was like a calm confidence going into my debut.
Kind of like anytime, anywhere. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
But it's also crazy how quickly, things change.
Right.
So it's not, sometimes you might feel great, sometimes you might not. It's just very crazy to me that it's a quick change, and people don't understand that. People watching think that, it's just, you just show up and you fight, and that's just not the case. There's like a lot going on behind the scenes, for every fighter.
Yeah, every person's different. When I think of you, I think of all the stuff you take care of outside of the gym, whether it's your 6 dogs or other people's dogs or your friends and family. So there's always so much you're trying to manage while also going to war, which is an interesting profession for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
You being calm must help, though. Not in the fight, but since you're usually a calm person, because maybe if you were on that scatterbrained, it'd be kind of overwhelming.
Which is why, I have to be disciplined with like structure so that I can keep my, mental and physical, but more mental is everything, on like as less scatterbrained as possible. Like that's why I feel like the most organized, the best mental is when I'm, on track and doing everything's planned and, I'm getting everything done that I need to get done. Mm. But, there's always a excess. Like you can overdo it. You can overdo it. So sometimes I catch myself overdoing it and need to let it go on some.
I do that sometimes. I'm like, you don't have to schedule that out though. You can do this or.
Yes. Some things or some days, rest day, like something needs to be where you can relax.
What's a rest day for you?
So Wednesday night I finish early and I have Thursday morning off. So that's my rest.
12 hours.
It's like, well, not 12 because it's like Wednesday night, then I don't go back until Thursday night.
Oh, so almost 24.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but what is the key is the sleep in on Thursday.
Normal sleep.
So that's my key, where I don't need to set an alarm for early, and I'll get a little bit extra. And it's just nice. Like Wednesday, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Like Wednesday's the best because
I see you walk out on Wednesday, but now I know it's even, like, I thought it was cool, you're getting a break, but now I'm like, oh no, that's the reward, because you get that extra time.
So I do the 5:30, so I get the 30, and the no-gi is a hard 30, and then I get to leave early and sleep in, and kind of, because I get to sleep in Thursday, sometimes I'll wander around, like maybe I'll stop at the store, do something, which sounds weird because, everyone's like, why I stop at the store all the time, but
not when you have that schedule.
Yes, I don't want to do that. Like I want to get home so I can get my routine with the dogs, and then feed the dogs, feed myself, and then get in bed at like an appropriate time so that I can get up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
So it's nice because I can kind of like stop, and then Thursday maybe I go and get a coffee or something like that, where it's like, that doesn't sound like very resty, but for me,
so it's a lot more mental rest.
And it's enjoyable. Yeah. Just kind of like, maybe I'll wander around, like find a new coffee place or sleep in, do something, that's my like free time during the week.
You have to, especially in what you do, because it's not, I guess, the same as entrepreneur, but it definitely seems like it. You're basically working for yourself.
Right.
To train this machine to go crazy. So like, to be able to give yourself some time is good, because I think people, no matter the age, like whether they're 20s or 50s or 60s, sometimes they do like just redline it and then wonder why they crash out.
Right. And you're seeing that, I think, a lot now with like these careers, or I follow a lot of people that kind of have their own schedule, I guess, like a self-employed or have their own business or have their own thing. And they just kind of are trying to shed some light on like, this 9 to 5 is not the business. Like, stop trying, it's not like, it's not a good thing to be, just focused on work and not seeing your kids or your family or whatever. Like, the United States, I think, is maybe the worst of it. Like, other countries are not the same. Like, people value things differently over there, and they get time and they meet up with people and relax, and they're not just working. And I just feel like, I've been seeing that a lot recently, where people are doing too much and not like, you're killing yourself and there's no reward. There's
reward, but like, you got to live life in the moment too, because you do all these things and then you're like, oh, but what about the Monday that I had with so-and-so, or the Tuesday walking my dogs, or all these moments that you're going to miss. Like, when I first started working in real estate, it got super on the busy side. And then when I quit my job to be full-time by myself, it got even worse, where I was just like, no, if I don't work, we don't get paid.
Yeah. Sometimes by yourself, it's even worse. You're pushing yourself and you're maybe working from home and you're not knowing when to stop or set a boundary.
Yeah. That's been a battle too. Where sometimes it's like, you won't work at certain times, but then you're working all these times. So something that helped me with balance though is the gym. And it's funny because it took me the other way, where I was like, oh, I used to be an athlete. This is fun as hell. And it was the same thing with G. Yeah. I like the structure. Yeah. I never had good coaches besides 2 coaches in my basketball career, and I probably had 10 coaches.
Right.
But 2 real ones that I could call right now and say, like, I need something.
Right.
And same with G. So when I met G, I was like, oh no, it's like, you only get what you put in. He's super structured, but he's super funny. He's helpful. And he's like, not a last of a dying breed, because there's going to be more people similar to him, but you're not going to find people like G very often that are that focused.
There's a lot of too nice of coaches, I guess, or like yes men, or where I just, like I was saying earlier, I don't like, I wanted you to be direct with me. Like, I don't want you trying to be nice, like, oh, that's good, and no, I want to know what needs to be fixed, or be direct. I don't want to be wondering, like, what does he mean? Like, does he mean something else? Because I've run into coaches like that before, going to other places, other gyms. I'm always kind of like, I like to go places and kind of see how people do things and kind of see how coaches are, or the girls are, or whatever. Just kind of like to compare and like learn. And I find that I like the best coaches that are just like direct. And if you're not good with yourself, like if you're not telling yourself the truth, or if you're trying to kind of like lie to yourself, then you're going to be offended by those people. But if you are someone who's disciplined and kind of like on yourself, self-responsible and whatever, then you'll value that, because, I mean, there's nothing better than the truth. Like, cold, hard truth sometimes, but that's the quickest way to, success or change is when you're being told the truth and being honest with yourself. So I don't know, some of these coaches I think are too nice or too much slack with the athletes or whatever. I think, a direct,
there's definitely a
honest
respect
coaching.
at American Top Team.
Yeah.
There's definitely a hierarchy.
Yeah.
I think a healthy one too, though, because you can still have that relationship. Like, I still make sure, well, everyone would do that at their gym. They would say hi to the instructor, but I make sure to make sure and say what's up to G first,
Right.
just like out of love and respect because he's done me so right.
Right.
So I think it's cool to have like the boss, but have a comfortable relationship. It's not like a unhealthy, because even when we're doing classes with you or with Shaq or with whoever, I feel like the culture's the same.
Yeah. And it's not like that everywhere, because I've been to several places and I always find the coach as well, because that's how G kind of when I first was there, he took that very seriously. You always go and say, hi, thank you for letting me train here or whatever.
Yes.
And I don't see that everywhere.
Really?
Some people go and train and they maybe don't say anything to the coach.
crazy.
Or even, I guess, when people have come to the gym, some people have ignored G, which I think is odd.
That's
Just
super
to
odd.
come in and
Train.
somewhere that you don't know who's running it or who's whatever. So yeah, I think that's interesting.
It's funny you say that, because when I went to Fort Lauderdale for a work trip, pretty much it was real estate stuff, I asked G if I could train at that other one. And because of him and then me being respectful, man, you would have thought I went there for like 5 years. They were treating me way too nice.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow.
I think people like it too.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Because they're like, okay, let's take a group picture for Zach. And I'm like, why are these 80 people doing a picture for me? And then he's like, oh, Zach, come sit by me in the middle. I'm like, bro, I'm a white belt. These people are going to fuck me up worse because you're giving me all this love. But then the last day, the funny part, because I haven't got to roll with G very much, just because I think I got like 2 early ones. But that coach made me roll with him for a 10-minute roll in Florida heat. And then at the end, it was white belt days. Not like it would change now, but then it was like, I think I got tapped like 20 something times.
Right.
And it's just so funny to get like that same culture from them. Because of G, they were like treating me real good. And then when we go to the gym, it's good. And I make sure to try and tell anyone I come, like, the bow and the take off your shoes, be nice, say what's up to him. Yeah. Like, that's the boss. Like,
I think respect just goes a long way. Like, if people see you are being respectful, or if, somebody's respecting you, you're just more inclined to reach out and make a connection. I mean, respect is, I'm not seeing it enough.
That's crazy. You went to other gyms and you don't see people say hi to the coach. Yeah. Like, they're the ones that let you go there. That's wild.
But I do see, when I do see it, or like when I say hi, I think you can see it like in their eyes. They kind of like light up, because it's respectful, and people like to be respected, especially in a martial arts scene. Mm-hmm. So I think like when people see that, or when they are respected, it just makes a better connection. Otherwise, some people coming in and giving you the cold shoulder, you're less inclined to, show the same.
It's funny when we'd be at the gym and then like someone comes in like that, and it's not always this type of person, but it's a lot of times someone that has like a little experience in something.
Yeah.
And you'll see one of the guys like point to one of the other guys to go down there, and that always cracks me up. They're like, hey, go roll him up, he's going crazy. And I'm like, oh shit.
Exactly. That's the difference. You show a little respect and you're not on the end of that, welcome to the gym. You're kind of...
It's just funny to see it all, because like, I feel like I'm fairly new and I got to see all sides of it. Where I was like, that person sucked, this person was awesome, these people are nice. But the cool thing I thought about the gym, especially maybe if I wouldn't have played sports before, it would have been even harder of a transition, but it's a big deal to go do jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and stuff as an adult.
Right.
It's a pretty easy transition. And G's huge on that, like, in you and everyone that's in charge, like, matching the correct pace. So you can't have beginners come in there and do jiu-jitsu but not get scared, because it's kind of weird to start out as an adult, I feel like. Wrap your legs around someone, they're smushing the shit out of you. You're like, I don't really like this. Yeah, but for some reason, it's addicting.
I think a lot of people come in and they'll ask, do you have separate classes, or does everyone train together? Because there are some gyms that do separate beginner or belt or whatever it is, and G just does not.
I would be worse in a beginner's class, because I feel like everyone would be trying to kill each other.
Right. And you can see that because sometimes when you get certain white belts together, it's like a wild roll.
A war.
So like Could you imagine?
A whole
So I
class.
just like that G has everyone together, because then he pairs like someone mature or experienced with somebody new, and they kind of show them the ropes, as opposed to you needing to figure it out on your own, which I do think you need to figure things out on your own, but with others' help as well.
Just a little bit more skills, because there's definitely ones where they're like walking you through it, and then once you get to a certain point, they're rolling you up. And then the thing that always made me laugh, and I tell Josh and Trey and all them, is like anytime I think I get a little better, it's just like you loosen up a little more.
Yeah.
And you're like, here's a little more, here's a little more,
Yes.
here's a little more. And it
Yes.
just cracks me up, especially with Trey, because he's probably the one I talk the most shit to as he's rolling me up slowly.
Yes.
I'm like, man, you
Trey-
suck, you ain't shit.
He'll nicely do it, but yeah, you're definitely getting beat up when you roll with him.
Well, something I wanted to speak on is, I know you're big on mindset. I saw you talk on other things about mindset or books, or I've even seen you write certain notes. That's kind of why I have notes on my whiteboard of, keep going for me and things for you. But MMA in general is tough as hell. Like to get wins and then be on a win streak, but then lose one, and then you trained all this time, died. There's like all these things, and then it just happens in one night. To stay strong on it and then fight for 8 years and make it to where you want to make it, how do you deal with like the up and down?
Yeah, there's a lot of ups and downs, and there's just a lot of seasons. Just as a person, you go through seasons.
Yeah, and you're
And then-
maturing throughout it. You're
Right.
growing up yourself.
And then as a fighter, there's seasons, and then, wins and losses create seasons of their own. Just kind of like,
When you say seasons, like sometimes if you have a bunch of wins, you may keep fighting more frequently, or
yeah, or just, like mental, it changes. Like, there are some people that are, you see that are very consistent, and you can see some people also struggle. And a lot of it is mental. It's hard to figure out where you need yourself to be and then maintain it. Or like sometimes you try so hard to maintain it, and your mind just does other things. Like you can't control your mind.
yeah,
100%. Like you can help yourself to stay a certain way, but things change, perspective changes. Sometimes things in life or things in the fight will maybe cause a trauma, and that will all just shift. So like things are constantly shifting. It's hard to stay so,
something in the fight
stable.
will cause trauma outside, or vice versa.
Yeah. So like say like a loss, I guess, or like say you got finished, that can cause like trauma, right? Maybe then it causes you to be scared of like a certain thing, or maybe not. Not everyone is like this, but I think some people are and some people aren't.
I'm like that.
Like you get finished, you
don't let that same one happen again.
Yeah, like you don't want that to ever happen again, and so maybe you overcorrect a certain thing, or say you, because I have been on the short end of like a decision before, where like it wasn't right, and then you've got people, which I think they mean well by saying like, oh my god, you totally won that fight, that's ridiculous and whatever, but it's just like it's kind of like a trauma. Like you put all this work in, like you were saying, for months, and then you fight on one night, and the judges kind of they kind of screw you, and it's so frustrating, and it's hard to bounce back.
And it doesn't make you feel better when people say you won.
Right, because nothing changes. It
yeah.
doesn't change anything. There's a lot that goes into it. The record, the money, the payment, like your
better
career,
record, better
standing,
payment.
or like when you lose a decision like that, you don't get your full purse because you lost. So
damn.
like there's a lot that people don't see. It's not just like about, whatever. Like there's a lot. So that for me, that's caused like, some like mental arguments in my mind. Like, oh, this really sucks. And like sometimes it takes a long time to get over something like that. Like, because.
And you deal with it all on your own, or you counsel with your friends and family and loved ones and stuff, or you just deal with it on your own?
All of the above.
Okay.
I work through it myself. I talk to G and the team about it. And then I also have a sports psychologist that I've been working with for years.
And you still deal with the psychologist?
Oh yeah. I've been working with her since I think it's 2018. For the last 6 years.
And it helps
consistently.
tremendously?
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started seeing her for competition.
In person?
In person.
Okay.
We've done some Zooms.
Yeah, I was just curious for the
if
setup.
necessary, but in person. I started for competition, but I've realized that there's a fine line between competition and life. And really, even if you're going in there for competition, you're really also getting like life lessons out of it.
Okay.
So like, you know, therapy and sports psychology and whatever you want to call it.
No, this is perfect.
They all translate. Like, I think people think, oh, I go there just for sport. But really, it's not just for sport. It's helping you see things in a different way, which also translate to life. Or vice versa. I feel like if you went to therapy just for your personal life, whatever else you're doing with work or whatever, it will also translate back. So
Okay.
I think it's a fine line. And I think that it is all bundled together. You might be focusing on one aspect, but it will overall make a difference. So I think since working with her, I feel like I'm also looking at more like life in general. Like, is this how I want to be
Damn.
in life in general? Like, I don't want to be like stressed out or rushing around or whatever. Like, so it goes back and forth.
How do you help with the rushing around? That's something I mess up on, where I'm like, why am I so rushed?
Yeah. I also used to get very rushed. And she, like, the biggest thing is just like, be where your feet are. That's what she likes to say. She likes to say that. So like, just be where you are. And if you're feeling rushed, like, stop, remind yourself, like, where are you? Like, where am I? Like, I'm in my car. Like, so stop doing all these other things.
Stop thinking of like the fight or your retirement or doing this. Or for me, that's what I think of. Like, oh, don't think of this you got to buy, or this you're flipping, or oh, wait, you wanted to go spend some time with family too, or oh, you got to go train. Like, just
present.
be here.
Be present. So like the be where your feet are is like a be present reminder. Like, just be in the moment, and not be in the past or the future or whatever. Oof. So sometimes, I used to be really bad about it. I'm feeling actually a lot better with that, but like, I just have to remind myself, like, where are you? We're not there or there or there. We're here. Deep breath, like, refocus into the moment. Cause sometimes, you know, it just sucks to be rushing around. Just feeling like scatterbrained, which is why I like to be structured. But even when you're structured, sometimes your brain can just get scattered and you just need to bring it back.
Yeah, you may be working through the next checklist. Like,
it's just not fun. Like, why are you rushing around here?
So you start working with her, you get through that. What are some other major lessons? I'm asking mainly for me too, because this is helping me.
She has been a big game change, big key for my, like, competitive, but also just, you know, again, life ties into life. But I'm just trying to like enjoy it more. Like, I feel like there was a period of time where I was not enjoying everything. Like, and I don't want to, you know, like, I like to be disciplined. So sometimes I was trying to be too disciplined and not, you know, not go out or not enjoy this, because there are sacrifices to be a athlete. You do need to sacrifice a lot. You hear people say it all the time. You know, I missed this, I missed that, my family function or this or that. So like, there is sacrifice, but you also do need to have a time, even if it's like one day a week or one day a month, where you do go out and do something that you can be in the moment and enjoy. Like a dinner or like a trip or something. Like, you need to have something. Like, discipline, yes, but also you need to enjoy where you are. What you're doing.
Enjoying the journey a little bit. Because you'll look up and you're like, oh, it's 20 years later. Like,
great. Just the time is something that I really kind of like, I guess not freaks me out, but it's just a crazy thing. Like, time. Sometimes it goes by so slow and sometimes it's rushing by. And so when I was rushing around and not enjoying anything, the time was getting weird. It was like one day, then it's like 2 months later, and you know, it's just craziness. Time is crazy. So I think being able to kind of slow it down gives you a little bit better understanding of time.
Do you find that, like, I know you said enjoy it, but since you are slowing down, you think you're able to, like, give better versions, not give like you need to give, but are you able to express better versions of yourself to everybody, since you're not like in a tornado all the time?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, be yourself more, I guess.
Just rushing around just puts you kind of like on the edge, right? You're just kind of like almost irritated or overstimulated. It's just like, it's too high of an intensity. Like, you can't stay there. You can't live there. And like, I couldn't live there and be, maybe, you know, I see some people rushing around a lot and, you know, I don't think that that's like the best place to be. So like, how can you enjoy it? So I was not enjoying like, not even being able to just like stop and get a coffee because I was like, I gotta go. I gotta be here and do this and that. And so just like slow down.
I notice when I go get coffee or something and I talk to the barista for a minute, I'm like, oh, it was 10 minutes. And you're in a rush, but it's like,
what am I rushing?
But also you don't realize how beneficial that is later.
Yeah.
Like, not that it's like coming back, but it just means a lot. Like, even getting to sit down and talk with you, like, you won't get these moments back. And you could always do the mundane daily schedule every day.
Right.
Like, you're going to do that forever. But you're going to remember the little moments you took a second.
Yeah. Probably maybe like a couple of years ago, I probably would not have been able to just sit down. Because, you always...
You felt like you were wasting time or something?
Yeah, I think some people just always need to be doing something. And I am one of those people that like likes to feel productive and like making sure that I'm doing things that are towards what I wanted, like a goal or whatever. And so sometimes I just didn't have time for...
You're like, that doesn't contribute to this.
Yeah, but I mean, this does because we're talking about like important things, but...
Right, but I mean in general, because
just
sometimes
sitting down with somebody or like going out to eat with somebody, I would just be like, I don't know if I can do that and just like stop and let my brain just relax. Sometimes it was hard to just not do something maybe like so productive, like
right,
a lunch, like, so I'm pretty happy. Like, I'm not, there are some days where I'm like, no, I cannot do that, but I'm happier that now I can sit down and do something that's maybe not in my circle of like gym, teaching, dogs, or whatever, something outside of the circle that I do. Mm-hmm. I do like to stay like on, you want
to stay on track.
Yeah. Like to stay doing the things that, I enjoy doing. But also, every once in a while do something a little bit different and say yes to things. 'Cause for a while, no, like, and I felt bad, not being able to do everything that people would ask or suggest, but me and G are very similar in that, like, you just don't have a lot of time to like go out and do like 5 different things a week. Like, and the weekend, everyone's like, oh, it's the weekend, come and do this. Well, that's the only, 2 days that we don't have something,
where you got to catch up on everything else.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily like, oh, it's the weekend, you don't have plans. Like, it's kind of like, we've been so busy during the week that,
recharge.
Yeah, like maybe one of those days is a recharge day. And then the next day we're cramming all the stuff that we didn't have time to do during the week. So, a lot of people don't understand that. And,
I used to do that too, though. Like, even now, sometimes, like, I was talking to Rachel and I said, next time my dad asks me to do something, I'm going to just do it because, I won't get that time back.
Right.
And then literally that day, he texts me about golfing and I haven't been messing with the heat. Like, it's been killing me. And, I was like, man, I don't want to go. She said, you idiot. You just said it like earlier today. Yeah. So I called him back, scheduled it, and went and did it. But for a long time, not only just for it contributing to my goals, but also when you do have limited free time, I got super selfish with it.
Yes.
Where I was like, no, I want to do my 8 activities I've been holding off for 10 days.
Right. Yes.
So it's kind of a weird balance.
It's weird because if you have a small amount of it, you kind of try to grab it and like to hold on to it. But really, then you're not even enjoying that either. It's a weird thing. So yeah, just trying to, not hold, control and not control it or not like hold on to it so tightly. Just kind of, put the work in and then you just need to kind of let it go a little bit.
I noticed that.
Where it goes.
Yeah, I noticed that when you have been like grinding in whatever field you're doing and then you get all your stuff done and an opportunity comes up and you're like, well, I don't usually go out past 6 p.m. any day, but you're like, okay, this day I'll go see my friends for an hour or 2 hours. And then you come back and you're really refreshed because you forget like when you were younger, even though we're not old, but we're growing up into like, our grind time. But before that, you'd remember those times that your friends would make you laugh till you're like holding your belly or stuff like that. And then you go have a recharge moment like that and you're actually more productive on the stuff that takes the focus. Yeah. But I think it's interesting because I always speak from my parents' perspective, and my dad and mom just started doing more stuff for themselves in their late 50s.
Right.
Like in the last few years, they've been more on happiness. Something I see with your parents is they're always happy. Were they always like that or was it later too?
My mom and dad were divorced and then both remarried. So my dad now and more like,
because he seems really happy.
I guess, and I've also thought about this as well. Once I understood, I guess, more about life, like, I guess I want to say, because 18, you're not an adult. Don't tell me about it. So I want to say like 25, you're starting to figure things out. That's when I really started to understand my parents, like, oh, wow, like things are hard. Like, it's not just like, so I think me and my dad have always been close, but I really started to, you know, like he's really been enjoying like the last, So like, and me and my mom have a better relationship now that I've, you know, probably since 25, since I've started to figure out things, like, you know, we're just different types of people. She's more realistic, like, 9 to 5.
Well, it's funny you say realistic and then you put posters on your wall and make it to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So there's different versions for sure.
Yeah. But she never really understood the sports. She understood the academic lifestyle, and she didn't really understand that you can make it in other ways until more recently.
Our parent age is like, no, you work and then you retire.
But it's crazy because my grandma is the opposite. She's a dream chaser. So it kind of skipped a generation. It's like my grandma just commit to it, do what you want, do this, chase your dreams. And my mom was kind of like, go to school, do this. And then me, you know, kind of learning from everybody. My dad's very supportive and just kind of rolled with whatever I went with. My grandma was all about sports and competing and especially fighting. And my mom kind of just was hoping that I would go back to like, you know, academic style. So
that's interesting. I never thought we were similar in that way, because my grandparents and my dad, when I told them more on the real estate stuff, they were like a little nervous, but they're like, we believe in you. And I remember my mom, even though she believed in me, since she was so used to the structure, because she had been a single mom since early 20s. Yeah. So she only knew, let me work these 5 jobs and like make sure everything's good. So she wasn't like into that type of risk. And it's just funny that my dad was like, even before I went to real estate, I was like, no, I want to be a pro basketball player. So I wanted to go overseas. But then I was hesitant because I was like, no, I don't want to leave my mom and them. What if they need help? Right. And he was the only one that was like, well, you should just go because they're grown women and they can take care of themselves. Yes. But I was like in a different mindset.
Worrying about other people.
Yep, instead of myself. But then a year later it switched. I went towards real estate, and you kind of see how similar you are to some people in your family when you like look back. So to get that from your grandma is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you can be similar and then also like very different. Like I pulled things from everybody, not all great things. No, like, right. So, you know, some good and some, wow, I don't want to be doing this, but you know, you're kind of like in that already. You just need to be mindful about it. Like, oh, I'm doing some habits that I saw from family and maybe don't want to be doing forever. But
sometimes outside perspective helps with that too. Like your partner or something, when you're like, take them around your family or tell them about interactions. They're like, oh, did you notice this, this, and this? And it's not even like talking shit. It's just like giving you another look. And you're like, dang, I never thought of it that way. That's actually pretty true.
Or people start to understand why you do some things after seeing some family. Mm-hmm. I've had some people say, oh, now I kind of see why you do certain things. Mm-hmm. Say, family's like, yeah, it's a big influence.
My sister actually just got married recently, so we were around some family and stuff, and it's crazy how similar you are to some and different, like you said. But a lot of your family is out of state. You don't have people here?
Yeah, I don't have any of my family here. They've visited, like my grandma and my dad have visited several times. But usually I'll meet my mom in Utah, which is where her brother and her, you know, my grandparents live. So we'll kind of just meet in the middle and meet there.
Do you think that helps you stay focused?
I really, really love Utah in general. Like, I like to go there. So it's like a nice little like break. And
it's something you look forward to.
Yeah, I like to go and see the family. And sometimes going back to California is weird, like going back to somewhere that you used to live, but it's also changed a lot. So sometimes I like to just go to Utah because it's not like
that chapter is closed on the California side.
Not so much closed, but just like kind of odd sometimes to go back home to a place that's like not your home anymore. Sometimes it's nice, and then sometimes it's kind of like just a weird, I guess, nostalgic kind of like feeling. But it's just California has changed a lot since I was there. So it's just like, this used to be my home, but it's also now not familiar and totally different. So it's just a weird thing.
So many people and stuff going on.
Yeah, people and places changed, and so I like to just go to Utah. But my
you said your grandma lives there?
My grandparents, my mom's mom, and her brother and his family live there.
Okay.
So, like his wife and his 3 kids, and so like it's just like a nice.
Have you been to the national parks there? I've never been, but like Moab and stuff.
I don't think I've been there, but we have, I think when I was a kid, done some of those.
Because you're into that too. You got the backpack tat. You be hiking and things.
Yeah, I do like to go and see those places. Utah's really pretty. They've got a lot of trails. Really nice.
I know you usually go for work to Vegas, which is cool to say. But you got to check out that Valley of Fire State Park when you go next. Just take one extra day if you can.
Yes,
I know you're busy, so do your thing.
I've heard some good things to drive and go to.
The 2 I would say, Valley of Fire is 45 minutes, and it's really beautiful.
That's the one I've heard of.
More desert style. But then you can go 45 minutes the other way, and you can go to Mount Charleston, and it's snow mountains.
Okay.
And I think you would appreciate it. And maybe it's not when you're working because you got too much, but maybe at some point when you're going to Utah or something, you should check it out.
Yeah. I've got a list of things to do, places to go.
Well, as far as moving forward, though, like, what are some things, not fight related, but just in general, that you're continuing to work on? Because I'm big on mindset, and that's something you've been speaking on the whole time. But what are some things you're still kind of working on?
Sometimes it's pretty much. Sometimes you think you work on something and you've kind of like got an edge on it, like you kind of figured it out.
Then it comes back around.
And then it comes back. Yeah. So I think sometimes I kind of work through the same things over and over, which is kind of annoying, but also you get a new perspective every time. And so I think that's probably what I have the similar things that I just work through and then rework through, and it just keeps coming back, I think, until you like really address it and get it figured out. So I think those things that I had talked about are pretty much those things that I over and over do. Yeah,
for sure. Well, you ready to get out of here? I appreciate you. I know you said you only get limited time before you're done. We can keep going.
That's good. No, I think
if you want to, or we can wrap it up, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's good. Good place to stop, and maybe next time go and do a different.
Cool. Well, before I stop, I was going to let you know, like, I know we kind of bounced around, but it's really all we could do since we're learning each other like that. But I really appreciate you doing this. It's cool to spend time with people outside of what you usually do with them. Yeah. So it's really cool. I appreciate you.
I like to talk about, if you get me on certain things, I can be pretty chatty. Other things I'll probably be more reserved, but like if it's something, gym related or fight related or routine related, I pretty much will.
Well, I appreciate you being vulnerable, but also the tips, the stuff from your psychiatrist or psychologist.
She's good.
That's really good. What's her name? Maybe shout her out for some people.
Nicole Dennis.
Cool.
She actually has a girls' softball facility downtown. It's called Be Complete Athletics.
Okay.
It's really cool. That's really cool. But what's really cool, what I like about it is that she implements all her mental into her coaching? Girls and the coaching. Yeah. So, it's a girls softball program, a bunch of ages, and she pulls she's actually an athlete from OU, which is why I even found her. So when I was researching people, I wanted to find specifically an athlete.
Yeah.
So sports psychologist, not just a psychologist. And so I was lucky enough to find her. And so she knows how to compete.
At a high level and deal with all that.
Her program is super cool. And I think she pulls a lot of coaches that were also former athletes. So her program overall is really cool.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Emily, a lot. I appreciate you. All right. We out.